Let's get it. Oh, motion creates emotion. Let's get it started. Shiftan.
Yes,
Shiftan.
Nathaniel, how are
Let's
you
do
doing?
it. I'm doing great. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Such an honor to be interviewed by the legend himself, the living legend.
Too kind.
Nathaniel.
Appreciate that. Thank you. All right. So you want to introduce yourself? Tell the viewers a
Sure,
little bit about who you are, what you do.
of course. My name is Shiftan Yisrael. I'm from Brooklyn, New York. I basically was born in Israel, came in when I was about 2 years old, grew up in the US my whole life. I'm a certified life coach. I have a background in Wall Street, used to be a broker and a trader, working on developing a hedge fund down the road. Yeah, so, and I also I'm a big socialite. I'm out a lot. I do events from time to time. So that is my background.
Big social butterfly. I love that. What are some of your aspirations? Where do you get? I've noticed you have a drive for life, maybe a gratefulness for life that most people don't have. You kind of go through life in you're very aware. Where does that come from? You're wanting to always get better and just improve. And where does that come from?
Okay, so you're asking a lot of things simultaneously. So, in terms of my desire to grow, or what do you tell me? I'll dissect them step by step.
Yeah, your desire to grow.
Okay, where does my desire to grow from? It is what I believe. I believe that to be happy, you have to progress, which is grow. You have to have massive levels of appreciation, and you have to contribute beyond yourself. And that's what I do. I ritualize that. I'm always focused on appreciating and just loving life and realizing that it's such a gift. And everything in life happens for us, not to us, if we create that story. And to me, I only have two genres I look at: comedy and adventure. There is no horror, and also action. Action. Okay. Action, comedy, adventure. That's it. Those are the only scripts allowed in me being the producer, me being the main star in my movie. There's nothing but comedy, adventure, and action.
It's beautiful. Beautiful. If you had one quote to be remembered as, what would it be?
It's a tough one. If I would only have one quote to be remembered by, Shiftan with Shiftan right now. Yes, it's not a quote. It's just, I guess, a tagline. I don't know if I have a quote per se. You mean things that I've said, or how I
on your deathbed, you got the whole world's attention. What empowering thing are you going to tell the whole entire world?
If you ain't happy, nothing else matters.
If you're not happy, nothing else matters. Beautiful.
If you ain't happy,
if you ain't happy,
you're on the right way. If you're not happy, nothing else matters.
Beautiful. It's beautiful. You're a very smart guy.
Thank you.
Welcome. I can definitely tell you absorb a lot of information. What would be your best, some of the top books you'd recommend?
Excellent question. The key book would be Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich. That's a foundational book. That is what made Tony Robbins who he was. It's basically scientific because he studied over decades, hundreds of people. So I would pick that as the number one book. Think and Grow Rich. Now, if you're talking from the religious perspective, I would say, of course, the Torah. To learn from the Torah, the Bible. To learn from that. Nothing beats that. But in terms of the secular world, I would say that. Any books by Jim Rohn, any books by Tony Robbins, and the list goes on and on. So Think and Grow Rich would be probably the main Bible, I think, of success, of business, of progress. I think everything is in it. What I've realized is people are like, I have this book and I have that book and I have this book and I read this and I read that. And all that is great. You know, readers are leaders. And when you read, you grow. But it's all about mastery. It's not about dabbling. So people can read hundreds of books and remember nothing, do nothing, and not become different and not change and not shift on. So for me, I believe my foundational book is Think and Grow Rich. I actually lowered the volume, but literally 7 hours a day, you know, on weekdays minimum, I have in the background either Napoleon Hill or some other books that I'm listening to and studying as I'm doing it. So I'm always mastering. So mastery is key, and Think and Grow Rich would be the key book. If you want a few more, I can give you a few more, but that would be the one I would highly recommend. To master that book, to master it.
Would you say that's a book you definitely read multiple times over your life?
I do read it multiple times.
I mean, someone should. Is that what you're saying?
Oh yeah, absolutely. They have to keep reading it. Bob Proctor, God bless his soul, just passed on. And he read that book for over 60 years. And he said that is what made him who he was and what he's done for the world. And he was literally climbing another mountain as his last few years came to a close in his 80s. So yes, it's something I would recommend you read and study and master and listen to through audio form and take notes and really make that part of your life.
Wow. Yeah, I agree. It's I read it, I've listened to it Audible, one heck of a book, and definitely something I would continue to read and listen to throughout my life and really implement it because it's so vast and it was written in 1937, way ahead of its time, way ahead of its time.
Right.
What's the most memorable lesson you learned from your parents?
What's the most
memorable lesson you've learned from your parents? From your mom, one from your dad.
okay? Well, let me start with my dad.
Sure.
Okay. My dad recently passed. Recently, I mean, like about 2.5 years ago.
Sorry to hear.
Thank you for that. It was back in March 2020 when the whole thing
Challenging
happened.
time, yeah.
Yeah, challenging time. It was my birthday month.
Ooh.
For me, like I'm a socialite, I'm a party guy. I was like that fun and socialize and be with people. And for me, I celebrate my birthday the whole year usually, but at least a month. And my birthday month came. My dad got sick. Boom, he was gone within a very short time. Things went up and down. So God bless his soul. Like growing, whatever. That's a whole different area. Maybe we could explore later if you want. But in terms of, I want to start with him for his soul. Maria Avi Ben Sion Ben Shiftan. From him, there's a lot I've learned. But if you're to tell me one takeaway I've learned from him is work ethic. Work ethic. Where he would like get up very early. He was a painter. He worked very hard to support us, to give us a good life. And from him, I just learned the discipline of having a job, of working, of building yourself up, of sticking to a schedule. So from my dad, I learned a lot about discipline and you know, work ethic. From my mom, God bless her, she continued to be well and gesund and stark.
Oh man.
Amen, amen, amen. From her, I learned happiness. Her name is Chedva Chiva, which means Chedva is happiness, and Chiva is like beloved. So beloved happiness, and that's what my mom is, and that's what I learned from her. To always be happy, always be in a good spirit, always see things beautifully, just being a happy soul. So for my dad is work ethic, for my mom is happiness. And also,
Beautiful.
one more thing, sorry, also love. My mom's a lover. My dad was a little bit more rough, you know, more like macho man, you know, in the old country, you know. My mom's just a lover, a giver, a passionate person. She's all about, loves everyone and everything. And that's what I take away from her.
Wow. And from someone coming from the perspective of look at all these people, 25,000 people die of starvation a day, all these crazy things happening in the world. There's a war. How can someone be happy? What would your mother? How could someone be happy when who knows what they're going through? Life's not easy. Life's challenging.
Well, first of all, it's all about perspective. Where focus
Mm,
goes, energy flows. So
mm,
yeah, 25,000 people died, and if I'm going to focus on that, I'm going to be miserable and depressed, of course. But how many people were born?
mm,
How many people got married? How many
mm,
people today broke through a challenge? How many people
mm,
today had a insight and were born again in their hearts and their souls? So when you say all of these negative things going on, they're true. But what about all the positive? There's
mm,
a website, worldometers.info, which was very popular. It's very popular, especially during COVID times, right? Where how many deaths, how many births, how many this, how many that. When you look at it, the births are like always multiple times higher than the deaths. The people coming to this world is always higher than the people leaving it. So it's all about focus. It's all about perspective. It's all about gratitude.
mm. Right. Focus is feeling, right? And meaning is feeling as well. What meaning you give to that. Right.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yes.
Right. Pain is optional. Suffering, pain is part of life, but suffering is optional. It's a choice.
Right.
Right.
Absolutely. Yes.
That's beautiful. How have your priorities changed over time? Now that you're an adult from since you were a kid, and how have they changed? With new identities comes new priorities. So how have you changed?
Absolutely. It's always evolving. It's never, I never stay in the same place. I always look to grow. And that actually is my formula for happiness. You did ask another part of the question, which I didn't answer, is how do you be happy in such a terrible time? How do you be happy when the world's upside down? And one of them is you focus on the good, not the bad, which is appreciation. But the other part is growth. You have to grow or you die. There's only two cycles in life, growth and death.
Mm,
And growth and death doesn't mean immediate death, doesn't mean the person just drops dead. It means they're on the cycle down. That
mm,
cycle down could last decades. That cycle down could last even 100 years, but it's still a cycle down or it's a cycle up.
mm,
Bob Proctor was a cycle up till his last second on this earth, till his last few weeks. He was busy. In his 80s, he built a studio for millions of dollars in his house so he can deliver and he can create content for people. That to me is growth. That to me is living till his last second. Somebody else is 40, 50, like, oh my gosh, I just gotta take it easy, relax. Are you kidding me? So yeah, so growth is very essential.
mm. So what you're saying is, as when you were younger, as a kid, teenager, growth wasn't a priority.
Okay, so I guess I got kind of carried away and didn't answer the question properly. So you said, how have my perspectives changed over
How
time?
has your priorities changed? Which also identities, because with new identities comes new priorities. So what kind of person is growth? Or what identity comes with growth in general? Or how have your priorities changed over time?
Okay, so how my priorities changed over time is truthfully, they have and they haven't.
Mm,
Okay, let me explain. So my priorities have changed and they're always evolving, always changing, and I'm always growing. But it's basically been the same thing. It's just what that goal has been has changed. So, for example, to me, the most important thing in the world has always been, and I think for most people, if they really look deeper, is to be happy. And for everyone around me to be happy and to just live beautifully. That to me has always been my goal. To live as beautifully as I can and to help others around me live beautifully. But how that manifests and how the micro goals change and what that encompasses in terms of what I'm looking for changes over time.
mm,
So as I get older, I start to see that, well, that's a little bit different than we thought before. You know, as I get older, I see that the secret to living is giving. It's not about me, it's about we. It's about what I can do, how I can give, how I can, and so forth. So how my perspectives changed over time is that I saw that there's deeper insights to any of the goals I've set in the past. And that actually led me to understand that imperfect massive action is the secret. Don't wait for perfection. Don't wait for perfect goals. Figure out, what do I want right now? Where do I want to be right now in the next 6 to 12 months? As you're starting to go there, you're going to say, you know what? I thought I wanted that, but actually I wanted this, but I wanted that. And that, you see my background, the world is huge. The direction can change. It's all good, but you just got to be moving somewhere.
It's beautiful.
Thank you.
Beautiful. Movies specifically are a huge part of just life in general. What movie would you say has made you a better person? What would you recommend, like top movie for someone to go ahead and watch?
What? Okay, so you took an assumption and then you asked the question. So in
I
terms
did.
of movies, I'm sorry, brother.
Right.
In terms of movies, I kind of don't necessarily think movies are so good for you, because a
Okay.
movie is basically a producer selling you a story
Yeah.
and emotionalizing that story.
Exactly.
And
It's exactly what it is.
exactly. So therefore, watching a movie is not essential for life. Watching the right movies and growing from them is essential for life, I think. Right now, people that are watching this, it's a movie. It's on YouTube, it's a video, it's whatever. You know, we're doing it imperfectly. We're doing our, actions to start building whatever we can for the world, but it's still a movie. So when you ask me a question, what movie would I recommend? Like, movies are essential. So first of all, movies are essential if they're helping us. I think everything in life is only good if it serves us and serves the world. And if it doesn't serve us, it doesn't serve the world, then it's not good. So anyways, that's, I'm throwing a lot of different things at you. But in terms of movies, what are some movies that I'd recommend? Well, I would recommend things that help you grow, things that help you progress, things that develop more of who you really want to become and who you really are, but haven't yet actualized.
I understand. Can you name a specific movie that you have in mind?
I would say Tony Robbins, Netflix, I'm Not Your Guru.
Yes, amazing.
Very
It's a great one.
transformational, made me cry, made me
Me too.
grow. That would be an
Yeah.
awesome movie that I would recommend. The language could be a little, interesting, but it
Right.
was awesome. Um, yeah, I mean that would be a good movie to recommend. Do you want more names, or
No, whatever you feel like.
you tell me? I mean, you're the
No,
boss.
sure. So to pivot here, what is your biggest regret in life?
What's mine?
Biggest regret in life?
Oh, I'm sorry, I can't help you with that. What the reason I answer like that is because I don't have regrets. Every single thing I've done, I don't regret, and I would do it again. And I would do it at the point in life that I did it. And boy, did I mess up. And boy, did I do things that I might regret. I mean, again, I'm not trying to be anything dramatic, but but I don't regret it, because who I became would not have happened if not for my struggles. I would not be half the person I am today, and I'm still growing and just starting, if not for the mistakes, if not for the setbacks, if not for the things that I personally did to myself that threw me backwards. But it's okay. I wouldn't take it back, because I wouldn't evolve if not for that experience. So I don't have regrets.
It's a very mature answer.
Okay, the truth.
Do you truly, I can only speak for myself, only for
Right.
myself. In certain
Yeah.
aspects, I agree with that. Personally, can you truly believe 100% that you have no regrets at all?
Okay, not 100%, 1,000,000,000%. No regrets at all,
Oh,
because I'm human.
yeah, you are.
Um,
Yeah, we
Part
all
of
are.
being, I'm sorry.
Yeah, we all are.
You
Yeah.
can tell, right? We all. So I'm human and I'm imperfect. And for me, I believe, like, if this is my personality, like, how things come with a manual,
Hmm.
you get a manual, like, this is how you use it. Most of the time I throw that in the garbage. I just figure it out, and it could take
Yeah,
longer. It
yeah.
could be more painful, but I just figure it out. I'm like, okay, well, this didn't work. Okay, this didn't work. Okay, oh, there we go. Voila, technology, beautiful. So that's how I am. So everything I did in life, there's nothing for me to regret, because everything was for me to grow from and learn from. You see, life has no meaning besides the meaning that you give it, like Tony Robbins says and teaches, and I believe. So the experiences I have, the meaning I give them is that they were my stepping stones to design me and make me become someone that can help on a level that I think very few people on this planet can do. And not because I'm so smart, not because I'm so nothing, but because I'm so committed to help others. I spend 10, 12, 15 hours a day just studying in the background. I'm doing other things. I'm listening. I'm growing. I'm trying this and trying that. I'm open to everything, close to nothing that can help me grow to help others. So there's no regrets because everything I've been through is a tool that I can help myself and help others. And if I wouldn't have that personal failure, that painful experience, that stupid action that I did, I wouldn't be able to deliver to others. I wouldn't be able to relate to others. I wouldn't be able to relate to someone else who's doing something as foolish as I did and not look down at them. Because I'm like, hey, buddy, you did the same thing. You did way worse. So you know what? Don't judge so fast. How can you help? How can you deliver? So
Okay.
no regrets, 20%. Yes.
Why are you so, you keep mentioning serving others. Why are you so committed to serving others?
Because the secret to living is giving. That's my belief.
Many
You
people
know,
who live, many people who live without giving.
do they?
Depends
What
how you
about
define, it depends how you define the word live. Let me hear your perspective.
exactly? When you, I mean, whether you look into the secular world, whether you look into the religious world. I remember I had a rabbi, Rabbi Bragg in Chaim, Berlin, yeshiva, and he said to us, he said, when you go and you feel a little down and you're not so happy, go do someone else a favor. Go help
Yep.
somebody else. Shlomo Carlebach used to say, he says, the secret of life is doing someone else a favor, you know, right? So
Yeah.
that's from the Jewish world. And then when you look at the non-Jewish world and secular world, like Tony Robbins, he says, you know, he pulled over on the highway. He was 19 years old. He was struggling with everything in his life. And he said, it hit me. It hit me. He said, the secret to living is giving. And when he realized that, everything changed and he built his empire from that point on. So, yeah, so that's the secret to life. It's when you give because nothing really brings happiness. You know, people say, I love you, but they love themselves a lot of times. Real love is about giving. How do you say love in Hebrew?
Hava.
What's the root of ahava? Hav.
Have, okay, right.
Hav means to give. So when you give is when you express love. And when you express love is when you feel connection. And when you feel connection is when you feel whole and complete and you tap into the infinite. So that's why I believe and I experience, you know, the secret to life by giving. And that's why I'm so passionate about it. Because when you're giving to others, you're really giving to yourself. Whatever you put out, you're going to get multiple returns back. If you're putting out hate, you're getting that back. If you're putting out judgment, you're going to get that back big time. If you're putting
Very
out
much true.
love, you're going to get that back as well.
It's beautiful. That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing. On the topic of giving,
Yeah.
what's advice you'd give to a kid who maybe feels lost? And not even necessarily a kid, a person maybe feels lost in their life, no direction. They're kind of just drifting through life, a job they don't like. Maybe they went through some trauma, or maybe hey, they had an easy life, but they just don't know what direction to go in. They just kind of feel lost. What would you tell that kid, that person?
Well, I would first ask them a lot of questions.
Hmm.
Everything stems from a series of steps we take. You know,
Mm.
we end up at a certain location, not by accident. You know how people say this baloney story, they sell themselves a story. My gosh, I don't know what happened. This one thing, this one person, this one event put me in a certain place. And wow, it's so painful. No, it was a series of steps.
Mm.
So when a person says they don't have direction in life and they don't know what life is about, or they feel lost, my questions first would explore what has led them to get to that point. What limited beliefs that they took from their parents? What limited beliefs did they take from their bullies? what limited beliefs did they take from things they watched from negative people and negative friends and toxic friends that said you can't, and the world is terrible and limited, and you should be happy doing this, and this is what you got to do, and this is your limitation. Because when we're in the wrong state of mind, every decision is going to be wrong for us. So when you say, how does a person get the right direction? The answer, sorry to make it so long, is to first get yourself in the right state of mind. Cut through the baloney, cut through the BS, cut through everything else, get into the right state, break through the limited beliefs. And at that point, when you're in a wonderful state, then you ask yourself or meet the question together to explore.
Beautiful. Right. Everything stems from beliefs, right?
Well, but also the state. So in other words, I would recommend they get first into the right state and do whatever it takes. So really they should reframe the question, I believe, and ask a better question is, how do I get to my peak state? Once you're in the peak state, then ask no other questions. That's
what do you mean by peak state? This is interesting terminology.
Okay, peak state is basically a point where all limited beliefs, all like these, the energy. For example, right now I'm standing, okay? I'm put on the music. I could be sitting. I could be like, okay, whatever, all dead and boring. But that would not be my peak state. My peak state is when I'm in motion. Motion creates emotion. From Tony Robbins, right? That's the truth.
Nice.
So when you move your body, so peak state means when you start to get all of your biochemistry aligned in a way that your whole body, your whole soul flows with this energy where you have no limitations.
Seems very intriguing. I have a question about, I'm sure we know of people who have a victim mentality, right? Anything they do, it's never their fault. They don't take responsibility. And what would your advice be for people who just have a victim mentality in life? Even as a friend, how can you help someone get out of that?
Well, my question to them would be, do you understand what this is doing to you? Because when you're living from victimhood, you're giving away your power. You're giving away your energy. You're giving away your life. So when you say that I am this because of this person, that person, the government, this, that, then you can't solve that. You cannot change anybody else. You cannot change the external. So I would say focus on what you control. And what you control is the story that you tell yourself. Okay. What you control is what you focus on. What you control is the meaning you give what you're going through. And finally, most importantly, what you control are the actions you take now.
The moments of decision create your destiny.
One more time.
The moments of decision create your destiny.
Absolutely. Yes.
Beautiful. Wow. Beautiful. It's an interesting approach. You really like to understand before assessing. Really understand before assessing. It's a great approach. Really, it's beautiful. Wow. Beautiful, beautiful. What makes you feel empowered?
Realizing. Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry. Finish the question.
What makes you feel empowered? And do you think that it's the same for everyone as well?
No, I don't. Okay. Second part of the question first. I don't feel it's the same for everyone else. Everyone has a different level of empowerment. But I feel, so I'm not getting the question, how do I feel empowered? Or what are you asking?
What makes you feel empowered? How would you define empowered? I think I should start off with that definition.
How would you define it? So then I can answer it more appropriately.
How would I define empowered? I have to search up the definition real quick, so I could really give.
The dictionary would define how you would define it. No, just don't look it up. Just tell me.
Okay.
What hits you first?
How I feel. What hits me first is a can-do attitude. I feel empowered. I feel like I have the power to take control of everything in my life and go at it. Okay. And what makes me feel like I'm powerful and I can make stuff happen.
Okay. What makes me feel empowered, and beautiful answer, thank you. What makes me feel empowered is realizing that I have infinity within me, as do you and we all do. And that infinity is godliness. And that godliness within me empowers me, makes me understand that, like you said, you were saying before when I interviewed you, but you're never alone. God exists and he loves us and he wants us to be happy. That empowers me. Knowing that life happens for me and not to me. Knowing that everything that I've been through has created the man that I'm proud of being today. And what empowers me is knowing that my potential is infinite. Just like this world is infinite. You look at the stars, the galaxies, whatever you think you understand, you're just tapping into a little tiny, 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 tiny dot. Infinite world and galaxies and all that. So that's what it is. Realizing that there's infinity within us and there's no limits to how much we can grow. If there would be a cap, if let's say I would say, you know what, once I reach this goal, that's it. There's nothing else I can grow. There's nothing else I could do. I'd be miserable. I'd be depressed. I'd be like, there's no hope. I hit it. Now what? You know, with the astronauts, you know what happened with them? The early astronauts, they went to space. Most of them suffered from anxiety, depression, addiction. Because once you've been and you've seen the world and you've seen the galaxies, and now you're down and you shook hands with the president, you got so much love and from the whole world, and now you're just coming here doing nothing. You have no bigger goals to drive you. You're going to be miserable. So to me, that's what empowers me. Realizing the limitless potential of a human in this world.
Beautiful. Thanks for sharing that. So you're a very smart person.
I don't know. I'm growing. Follow me.
You're growing.
Thank you.
And perfectly perfect, as everyone is. Would you say it's more important how you say it or what you say?
Sorry, one more time.
Is it more important what you say or how you say it?
Yes.
Which one?
Both.
Both.
In other words, it's a little bit of combination of both. How you say it, though, I think is a little bit more important because it goes back to your state, the energy. So if you say the most, judgmental things in a certain tone of voice, in a certain tone of love and passion, it might not be as terrible or impactful as if you say it with a lot of hate and whatever, if you're doing it from love. But yet those words will still carry weight. You see, who are we? What programs our subconscious? It's the words we use, the language we say. So if you say certain words, even if you're not doing it in an emotional way, they do have some impact. But it's nothing compared to when it's done emotionally. So when people do affirmations, I am wealthy, I'm this, that, all that stuff, if there's no emotion behind it, it's worthless. But it's still something.
Think and Grow Rich touches on that, as you mentioned before, attaching emotion to the affirmation, to the visualization.
Absolutely. Without emotion, it's worth something, but it's worth a penny. With emotion, it's worth a trillion.
So how can someone attach emotion? If someone says, I am wealthy, I am a millionaire, I am happy, I have the desire to be my best self. How does someone attach those affirmations, for example, to emotion?
Okay. Napoleon Hill is a great book to help you with that, and so is Tony Robbins. But the way you do it is repetitive actions. It's getting yourself in the state like we discussed before. When you're standing, you don't feel the same way than when you're sitting. When you're smiling, you don't feel the same way when you're frowning. There's 8 muscles in your face, and using those muscles changes your whole biochemistry. So basically going ahead and using your body, putting on music, all of that helps you get into the right state. So yeah, the language, the story you tell yourself, and your body is the.
I understand specifically the emotion. How do I attach being wealthy and the desire to be wealthy?
Motion creates emotion. So in other words, if I'm like, I got the chair. I am happy and wealthy. Oh my God. Come on, that does nothing. Versus I put on the music, I get excited, right? And I get into the right state of mind. And all of a sudden, with the right state of mind, God's wealth circulates in my life. His wealth flows to me in avalanches of abundance. All my needs, desires, and goals are met instantaneously by infinite intelligence. For I'm one with God, and God is everything. You see, that's a different level of affirmation. You see the difference? How did you feel just watching me when I was sitting on that chair falling asleep versus when I put on the music and I jumped up? You honestly, it's the truth. Was there a difference?
Oh, 100%, 100%.
So that's the answer.
Mm.
Using your body, using every
Mm.
part of you. See, we have so many muscles, we have so many things, we have music, we have so many ways to basically feel the emotion. So when you start using your body, you start using your muscles, you start using, feeling it, that's when it becomes real for you.
It's beautiful. Wow, I never, when I was listening to that, I didn't know exactly what it meant or what emotion it meant. But you're saying just to actively get excited, dance, put on your favorite music with the beat, maybe with no words, and just yell these affirmations, almost just like say them over and over again, just get pumped up.
Robbins, when he was like a nobody, right? He was walking around, and that's why I just did that. I didn't go crazy for a second. I just wanted to show you so you could feel it. He would say that exact line I just used. God's wealth is circulating in my life. His wealth flows to me in avalanches of abundance. All my needs. He would be driving his car and screaming it on the top of his lungs, and people thought he was out of his mind. And now the guy, 45 years later, impacted millions and millions of people.
Hundreds of
He's worth
millions, yeah.
$500 billion or more.
More,
And he's not
yeah.
much. So you see, it works. And he's not the exception. He's the rule. Napoleon Hill says that's the rule. That's why Think and Grow Rich is so important to study, because it shows you what the people, that who's who of the world of impact, of results, of growth, of inventions, the Elon Musk, all these guys, what they had in common. Apple, no exception, same thing. Steve Jobs, all of them, So yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing. That is, yeah, I love Tony Robbins. Who doesn't? Who doesn't?
He's one of my biggest mentors. I met him twice so far. We're going to be partners. Just wait. Give it 5 to 10 years.
I believe you. If anybody, it's definitely you, Shiftan. Definitely.
When I said we, I had you in mind too.
Thank you. God willing. God willing.
God wills. Now it's up to you.
God wills. Now it's up to me. And amen. Amen. Okay. And in closing, if you had 3 pieces of advice, what would they be?
Number 1 is realize that life is a gift. Every single second, don't waste that gift on anything that doesn't serve you. So number 1 is realizing that life is a gift, and everything in life has to serve your experience. Number 2 is a secret to living is giving. And number 3, it's not about me, but we. It's not about myself. It's about what we can do. The power in numbers. Myself, I've had so many struggles on this path of building my empire, building this coaching thing that I want to help everyone shift on, doing all these things, and it's still growing and taking time. But my progress started to really take off when I started to work with others and realize, and maybe this is actually one of the first steps, to be completely transparent, of starting to do interviews, starting to do groups, starting to work with other coaches, starting to do, not just trying to do everything by myself. Because my thing is, I'm a giver. I love to give. But what I've realized is sometimes giving to yourself is the precedent that has to happen so that you can give. So using that teamwork is very essential.
Beautiful, right? You can't give what you don't have.
Exactly.
It's beautiful.
But what you have to give changes as you develop who you are. So it's like, you can't give what you don't have, so I don't have what to give. So, okay, I'm stuck. No. So create that, build it. If your bank account has 0, you have 0 to give. So fill up that bank account with $1 trillion and then go give out a lot of it. You know what I mean? So it's about filling it up and realizing that there's no limits to what you could fill it up with, except the ones you accept, the ones that you tell yourself.
One last question. How does someone, the belief, You can't, if someone doesn't believe they are worthy and they deserve and they want $1 billion or 100 million, it's not going to happen. How does someone, let's say you didn't necessarily grow up with a lot of money, and $1 million is a lot to them. 10 million, forget about it. 100 million, unfathomable. How does someone have the belief? Let's say they want it. They truly want, let's say, $100 million. And can someone have the belief that they actually deserve it?
Okay. So here it is.
Think and grow rich.
Napoleon Hill's book. So that's what it is. That basically, I mean, the book has a lot of secrets in it and a lot of things for you to discover. But the main thing stems from belief.
Belief.
Everything is about belief. And how do you get the belief? How do you reprogram your subconscious mind? How do you do all that? Is by mastering that book, not by reading it once or twice or 3 times, but becoming like the PhD scientist that knows that book better than anyone else. That is how you transform. That's how you create those beliefs. So it talks about that. So specifically, what exactly would you like me to share in this closing thing about the beliefs? I'm
Beliefs
I'm here for it. Go ahead.
Thank you. A lot of people
Yeah.
have, right, behavior stems from beliefs, right? A lot of people have bad money habits because they have improper beliefs with money, how they spend it, whether some people are spenders, savers, and broke, whatever it is. So how does someone believe, right? How does someone get rid of these limiting beliefs? How does someone get rid of these limiting beliefs that I'm not worthy of wealth? Wealthy people are bad. Money's evil. How does someone have the belief money is just a tool that amplifies who you are? I deserve money because I don't know what the next guy's going to do with it, but I know I'm going to do the right thing.
Sure.
How does someone change, I think, just in general, a negative belief to a positive? What's the process?
Okay. So you have to address your conscious mind and your subconscious mind. And you have to reprogram and shift on to a different paradigm. So basically, there's 2 worlds that exist. There's many worlds, but there's 2 main worlds. One world is the world you're in right now, and one world is where you want to be. And the way you change your beliefs is by exiting the world you're in right now and entering the world you want to be in. How do you do that? That's a whole series of steps. But basically, like we were saying, emotionalized affirmations, studying other people that have done it successfully, modeling their success. Basically, there's like a cycle. There's like one leads to the next, and it keeps turning around and around and around. So it's like belief. So as your beliefs grow, right? So then your actions grow. The more you believe in something, the more actions you take. As you take more actions, more massive actions, like you mentioned, your results increase. As your results increase, it goes back to the beliefs, and your beliefs rise. As your beliefs rise, right, then your actions again rise, because now you believe more, you're doing more. As you're doing more, your results are going higher, and it keeps going. It's like this circle.
And
so,
no, you finish.
So what I'm saying is, so with the beliefs, so basically you have to feed that belief system. You have to give it the ammunition, the gas. And how do you do that? That's by working on your subconscious mind. Because most of what you do is automatic pilot. Isn't that scary? 70 to 90% of our lives is just robotic. We do the same things, the same time, we eat the same way, we react the same way, we see this person, we react that way, we see that person. When you switch things up, and you change the pattern, then all of a sudden the body says, what the hell's going on here? Excuse me, but like, what's going on here? You've been doing this pattern for so long, and now you're doing something else. And that's when you shock the body opens up. First it resists, it fights you, but if you keep plugging in and pounding it, eventually you have a breakthrough. And then that changes your beliefs. And that's where Think and Grow Rich can really help you. Or you can shift on with me personally or with other coaches.
Love that. Yeah. Right. Part of beliefs that's helped me with limiting beliefs that helped me change some of my limited beliefs were the story I told myself. I found that if I can attach different meaning to the belief, then the belief no longer I don't even believe it anymore, because I know it's not true. I tell myself I had a belief I was too young in the beginning of this challenge, we talked briefly, and when you were interviewing me about, I had a challenge to have $10,000 after charity and expenses, only 90 days, starting with nothing. I was like,
Wow.
I'm too young. I was 15 at the time. I'm too young to charge hundreds of dollars for this, to talk with people who are way older than me, to talk to people who are making multiple six figures plus. Like, who am I, basically? And no, my price matches my value. And because I'm young, I know more tech. I know social media. I know these things better than older people. It actually serves me, being young. And switching the story I told myself empowered me. And I was like, dang, I'm young. That's why they should pick me, rather than it being limited. So I definitely find stories to be powerful. And you have anything else to say specifically comes up?
Everything that you were saying real quick is focus, meaning, and action. That's your state. Remember, we're talking about your state before? So
Yeah.
what you're focusing on, the meaning you're giving your story, and the actions you're taking create your state.
Beautiful. Wow.
That's exactly. And
Thank
your state's everything. The
your state's
state you're
everything.
in is everything. If you're talking to someone when they're in the wrong, lousy state, nothing's going to come in. There's a wall. And the way you get to that person, you have to smash through that wall. You have to change their state. You have to change their pattern. And once you change your state, once you change your pattern, which is not easy at times, that's when you start to tap into who they truly can become. You know, they say never look at a man or a woman like who they are right now. Look at them as who they can become. And then everything changes.
Beautiful. That's an amazing note to end off on. Never look at a man or woman, never look at a person as to who they are, but rather who they can become. Look at their potential. It's beautiful.
That takes
Also,
away all judgment. Like, think about it.
takes
Like,
away
you
all
look at someone
judgment.
like, what a lousy nobody. Look what they're doing, and you judge them. But all of a sudden, you say, wait a minute. If they would take that energy and channel it for good, wow, what could they do? The guy's a crazy guy. He's this, he's running around. But what if you would take that energy and use it for good? Who can that person become? And when you're looking at him with that perspective, and maybe that's truly the job of a coach. Maybe the job of a coach, I believe, besides accountability, besides everything else, is looking into who you can become. Like Beryl Solomon told me the other day, the champion within you. That to me is when you start becoming a coach. When you see in me what I don't see in me.
Right, exactly. That's that you almost bribe them to be your friend, to see the good in you. There it is. Beautiful. And is there anywhere people can message you, get in contact with you, see what you're
Absolutely.
posting?
They could find me anywhere.
Omnipresent. I love it.
Omnipresent. Under Shiftan Yisrael. So Shift, A-N, Yisrael, Y, Israel. So Shift, A-N-Y, Israel. That's for LinkedIn. That's for YouTube. That's for whatever. Just type that in, Shiftan Yisrael. You could find me. I have a website, shiftanYisrael.com, but it's still a work in progress. Like I said, I believe in imperfect action. So I do things, and even if it's imperfect, even if people sometimes get laughs at what I do, you know, seriously, that's what life is about. If I could give you one takeaway besides anything else you may have heard, is just do it. Just do it. If it's so bad and it really fails, and people look at your content and they laugh, Baruch Hashem, thank God. Why? Because at least you made a guy laugh. The guy could have been miserable, and now he's laughing thanks to your content. So my point is, just do things, learn from it, grow from it, and just don't take it so seriously. You are not your last piece of content. You are not what people think of you at that moment in time. You just keep evolving and keep doing it, keep producing, and get that mastery. So Shiftan Yisrael all over.
Amazing, amazing, Shiftan. I really appreciate your words of wisdom. I've had several mind-blowing moments in this conversation alone. Every time I speak with you, my mind seems to be blown out of the water.
Thank you.
And you did it once again. I appreciate your time so much. Take care.
Thank you. Have a great day, guys.
Thank you.
Always
Take care,
remember to shift
everybody,
on.
as well. Shiftan. Bye-bye.